Happy October, everyone, even though we're in the last full week of October. But whatever, I'm in the Halloween spirit. I've got my Halloween Horror Nights shirt on from last year. Let's review some horror movies. If you're new to this channel, every year on the last week of October, I try to review 5 horror movies in a row, sort of a mini ripoff of Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, except reduced to just 5 days. And I always reserve it for the last full week of October. So without further ado, let's just jump into this review. Last year, I reviewed Young Frankenstein as a tribute to Gene Wilder, who passed away. This year, we lost George Romero, the director of Night of the Living Dead, and Dawn of the Dead, which is the movie that I'm going to be reviewing right now. Dawn of the Dead came out in 1978, 10 years after Night of the Living Dead, and it is supposed to be a sequel to this movie, but only in the fact that it's a worldwide event. None of the characters from the previous movie are in this movie because, spoiler alert, they're all dead. So now it follows a new group of characters. 2 SWAT guys, a woman who works at a news station, and a helicopter pilot. They have to survive the zombie apocalypse by hiding out in this abandoned mall and using any resources they can to defend themselves from not only zombies, but any intruders, most notably a bike gang led by special effects master Tom Savini. Dawn of the Dead is one of those movies that I've gone a long time without actually watching, but it's one of those movies that's so influential and recognizable within its genre that I can notice and pinpoint a Dawn of the Dead reference when I see it. So this is my first time watching it, and I feel like this is one of those things where it's been built up so much that I've seen so much of it that I'm not completely in love with the movie like everyone else. I think it's a great zombie movie, don't get me wrong, but I'm not just completely over the moon about this one. It's not that there's anything wrong with the movie. I mean, it does have problems, but because I've seen so many other references in other movies or TV shows to Dawn of the Dead, it never really took me off guard in the same way Night of the Living Dead took me off guard. What I really like about Dawn of the Dead is that it's a more lighthearted movie than Night of the Living Dead, because Night of the Living Dead was sort of the beginning of the end of human civilization due to the zombie apocalypse. In Dawn of the Dead, it opens up right as the zombie apocalypse is continuing. We follow a new group of characters, and there's a little more character development with them. There's a lot of bonding moments between all the characters, and it just gives you a more upbeat feeling in the sense of it's not completely hopeless. There's a little light at the end of the tunnel to survive the zombie apocalypse. Because these 4 characters start off not really liking each other, except the 2 SWAT guys, since it's established that they've been together as a team for a while. But as the movie goes on, and once they start roaming around in the mall, they start to develop some more friendships, they laugh, they just have a lot of fun as they're also trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. And they don't even take the zombie apocalypse that seriously once they're in the mall, because you're in a mall, you've got so many items at your disposal to fend off from zombies. And it also spawned one of my favorite quotes that I use often whenever something's going great, which is, "We got this, man. We got this by the ass." So the movie is mostly more fun than it is horrific, at least in the middle of the movie. The first half of the movie, before characters get into the mall, feels more like Night of the Living Dead in the sense that it's really horrific. The zombies are eating flesh, which I gotta say props to Tom Savini and his crew for making all the zombie effects look as realistic as possible. Because when you see zombies eating the flesh off of people, it's so brutal, it's so graphic, and when a zombie just has an arm and he's eating the flesh off of it, you could see the bones, and it's chilling, honestly. It reminds me of the original Night of the Living Dead. Even if the blood is a little too paint-like, it looks a little more like paint than it does actual blood. And there's also another really cool special effect that I love. When there's a zombie who's attacking our main characters at a helicopter, he stands on top of some crates, but because zombies are not that smart, the helicopter blade is right near his head, so as the blades are going, it chops off the zombie's head to where he kind of looks like the Boris Karloff Frankenstein, and then he just kind of collapses. It's a really cool effect. I also really like the movie's main theme, that is, the theme song. The overall score itself is kind of a mixed bag, but the main theme that I believe was done by a group called Goblin is really catchy. It fits within the atmosphere of the zombie apocalypse, but it also just sounds really cool. And I know somebody's going to bring this up. There's a piece of music that plays in the movie that goes do 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 do. And for those of you who say, that sounds familiar, let me sing this song again, but with a different style. That's right, the Robot Chicken theme was actually a song used in Dawn of the Dead, which is really cool. Any problems that I have with the movie is that I've seen this movie referenced and parodied so many times that nothing came off as a real surprise. And if I had an actual issue with the movie, it's with the character of Fran. I always thought that Barbara from Night of the Living Dead was such a useless and downright terrible character. And somebody just recently commented on that review saying Barbara's in shock because of what happened, so she would be acting the way anyone would. But not to the point where she's completely unable to do anything, or at least try to fend for herself like all the other characters are. And with Fran, I originally thought that she was... Okay, you know what? This started out as a criticism, but thinking back more on Fran, I don't think it's much of a criticism. There's just one scene with her that I have an issue with, and that's when the helicopter pilot, Flyboy, gets attacked by a zombie. Fran's just standing up there, looking as helpless as ever, and I just thought, what is it with George Romero and his inability to write women? Because they appear to be some of the most useless people in his movies. But then as the movie goes on, Fran attempts to defend herself, and any points where she's unable to defend herself, it's because she's actually pregnant, so you can't really fight the zombie apocalypse if you're pregnant, so that I can let slide. But with Barbara in Night of the Living Dead, I still stand by that statement that she's useless. Now the last thing I'm going to say is a very unpopular opinion. And that is, I actually love Night of the Living Dead over this movie. I know Dawn of the Dead is the more influential movie and the one that everyone thinks of immediately when it comes to zombie movies. But Night of the Living Dead is just a more effective movie for me. When I watch Dawn of the Dead, there are some horrific moments to be sure, but it's not really all that scary. It doesn't really mess with my mind as the movie ends. I watch it, and by the time the movie ends, I'm like, okay, that was a really good zombie movie. Had some unique thrills, had a lot of fun to it. I liked it. But with Night of the Living Dead, I think because it was just made on such a low budget, it was filmed in black and white, and because the ending is something that you don't see coming, it messes with me. Not on the level of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's one of those things where you think back at the movie later on, and it just leaves you with this really unsettling feeling. So for me, Night of the Living Dead is the more effective movie in terms of an actual horror movie. And also, I may have mentioned this in a couple of videos beforehand, probably in my Shaun the Dead review, but thanks to Shaun the Dead, any sort of fiction involving zombies has been ruined for me. Like, I can't take zombies seriously in movies, TV shows, or video games like Undead Nightmare, though that game is kind of horror comedy. And it also doesn't help that in Dawn of the Dead, the extras that are playing the zombies just have the most ridiculous facial expressions you've ever seen in your life. You'll just laugh your ass off at these facial expressions. Whereas Night of the Living Dead never really had that. Night of the Living Dead is the exception to zombies not being scary for me, because that movie still creeps me out. But Dawn of the Dead, it's still good. I may not be in love with this movie, but I can definitely recognize that it is a really good movie. It has some great gore moments to it, has some great one-liners. The characters are a lot of fun, but it never creeped me out and never left me with an unsettling feeling like Night of the Living Dead did. So I'm going to say worth seeing in your lifetime. It's still a requirement to watch if you're a horror buff or if you love zombies, because it is the quintessential zombie movie. But for me personally, it's not as effective as it might have been back in 1978 or in the pre-Shaun the Dead days. So I definitely recommend it, but I just prefer Night of the Living Dead more. And that's my review for Dawn of the Dead. Now tomorrow we're going to be taking a look at a movie that is often recognized as one of the best, if not the best, horror remake ever made. So until tomorrow, I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on the original Dawn of the Dead, if and when you've seen it. Which one do you prefer more, night or dawn? And as always, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one. you.